Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is December 20th. It is Wednesday, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. Today, so far, we have Junmi, Andy, Beth. I'm Brian. We might have some other people pop in. Sometimes they're right on time. But today is Wednesday. So if it's Wednesday, at this point, if you've been listening to us for a while, maybe not, maybe it's your first time, welcome. We talk about the news. We talk about the news, the AI news in the last 7 days, essentially, since it was last Wednesday. And usually we have very little pre-knowledge on what somebody else is bringing to this. So while other than the stories that I think are interesting, of course we have overlaps, but I'm learning along and everybody else is learning along with our audience, which is why I actually really love doing this every Wednesday, because it's really just as much for us as it is for our audience. But we get to learn together. So I was just saying kind of before we went live that this is like probably one of the first weeks that I can remember where I didn't feel like there was just a deluge of new stuff. Of course, there's always really, really cool stuff going on. There's never a lack of information or new topics, but it just seemed like there wasn't like the volume that we've seen of like big, amazing announcements. And I think that's probably just because we're at the end of the year. People are starting to hit their breaks and things like that. But there are still some really cool stories out there. And I'll just throw one out there because I was just talking about it. It's not really news, but I was saying how funny it was that I got an email and it said, "Hey, congratulations, you're off the wait list for Gemini." And I was like, "Great. What's Gemini?" Because like you can't, it's impossible. We always joke about this. Like it's impossible to keep up with all the AI stuff going on. And all of us have been known to like, you throw your name on a wait list and you're like, I'll deal with that when it comes around. Maybe there'll be something cool. So I got access to Gemini. So it's not like world news, but it was local news to me. And so what it ended up being was a tool to like text to UI or UX, maybe it would be. And so it pairs with Figma. Figma was a software tool that I'd never used before. If I wanted to like stand up a website design or a mobile website design. So one of the examples they gave was like a Starbucks ordering page where I might want to pick my order and then have a checkout feature to it, or like Airbnb for like, or maybe like your local version of an Airbnb, you could set up something like that. Pretty cool because I was able to quickly do it. I couldn't think of anything. So I was like, oh, searching our podcast episodes, Friday this week will be episode number 100. And I thought, hey, that'd be something that we'd like to get eventually in 2024 out to our audience. We've talked a lot, right, Andy, about basically throwing all our transcripts at AI and being able to search through that volume of 100 episodes of transcripts of 30-minute shows for people to be able to pull in all sorts of stuff. So it says, hey, you want to learn more about custom GPTs? That's episode that, and here are the co-hosts that were on that show that day and these kind of things. So it seems like Gemini/Figma could be a really easy way to stand something up like that, especially for somebody like me who just doesn't necessarily have a background. I mean, I've created a website before. I've done many of them actually through the years, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert at all. So yet another cool way to just type in what I want to see and let the AI take care of building that initial framework and then allowing me to jump off from that point. So that was cool. I thought I would share that because I think it's always fun to get these, off wait lists. Although I said I have to be more careful because I think somebody could quickly catfish me by saying, congratulations, you're off a wait list. And I'd probably totally believe it at this point. So I probably should do some background checking before I just blatantly give them my information and go to their website. Maybe that's a good lesson for all of us.
And to clarify, this Gemini tool has nothing to do with Google's Gemini, right?
Yeah, right. I didn't even think of that. You're right. You're right. You would think it would. Okay, so that's my little kind of kickoff story. Who wants to kick it off? Who's got a great news story that they want to share? It looks like Junmi, you got one. Go for it.
Yeah. I came across this in Science Daily. Artificial intelligence can predict events in people's lives. So
predict events? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So this is a big research project out of Denmark. And they combined with some universities from the US, but they took all of this labor market and personal data information on like 6 million Danes and built a transformer model around it. And it was able to predict like time of death and like, so how long you're going to live. and this is all based on where you live, what kind of job you have, what are your hobbies and things like that. And so they're seeing a lot of evidence lining up to where these models can become even more. It already has a high level of accuracy, but they can even, they can grow that out, make it even more accurate. So the obvious question is, does this raise ethical questions? It's like, well, yeah, because, we're talking about Minority Report kind of level things here where we kind of know what everybody's going to do. And I'm sure there's some people out there that really want to calculate what the LTV is on a person's life. And I think that's that's a possible danger zone to go down. But it's really interesting to, on the positive side, to identify things that you can change in your life to increase your lifespan or increase your quality of life, or analyze a population as a whole and recognize, oh, this is bad. We now have a highly accurate model predicting that because of X, Y, or Z, it's going to harm our population. And I think on those kinds of levels, and medical research and things like that, that'll be a positive note. But when I saw that article drop, I was like, ooh, this is pretty juicy.
I kind of feel like this already happens, right? I mean, we know insurance companies already do this. This is, what is it called? The writers. There was that funny movie with Ben Stiller in it, where he was like not the underwriter, but the person that predicts. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. Jennifer Aniston too, but he like predicts like the whether you can buy this yacht or whatever the case is, and whether you're going to wreck it or something, right? It's not an underwriter. I can't think of what that's called. Anyway. I feel like this is already happening, and maybe, I don't know, Jimmy, you're kind of bringing up a point of like, ooh, you put AI on top of this, which, let's be honest, the major insurance players probably already do, and they're probably already using this for better and worse to deny people, future coverages and things like that. So it is definitely something I agree with the increased wearables technology, which I think is, if it hasn't already exploded, things like the pin and the Apple Watches and things like that, and the pendant, whatever it's called, that industry is going to explode even more. And I think as more data is gathered from the person, live data, respiratory rates, all these things, blood pressure, glucose levels, all these, there's a lot of benefit to be had for that, but also, what happens when it doesn't work in your favor? And somebody says, well, you wore the watch and you agreed that we could see the data from the watch, because from the user endpoint, you're thinking this is great. They're going to see I'm healthy. And all of a sudden they flip the script on you and say, well, actually, we read the data and actually says that your LTV is shorter. And now we're going to deny you based on that. Like, how quickly does that turn around and become a thank you, actuary? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that tied to insurance policies. It's like, oh, no, your premium's way higher now because.
Right. And so I think it's meaningful that this comes out of a country with socialized medicine. Right? Because the people in Denmark are not paying more premium individually based on what this measure says. And the country has an incentive to help keep their people healthy. Like, there's a part of me that is please don't share this information in the US. Like, this is going to be a problem for us.
Yeah.
But
us. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. What else we got? Beth, Andy, what do you got?
I'll go next. I'm sorry that Carl's not here, because this is about Google. I have 2 points about Google. And Carl,
it is a downer when he's not here to hear this and absorb the Google list.
I'm generally a defender of Google's long-term prospects and its ability to really make a big difference. But basically, they're the inventor of the transformers that we are, benefiting from, and OpenAI has kind of become the leading edge of. But a group of researchers this week took a look at the Gemini line and the claims that Gemini or that Google made about Gemini Pro, which it released, being about equivalent to GPT 3.5 Turbo. And their claim, that extends beyond that Ultra is actually going to surpass GPT-4 Turbo. And now this research kind of puts a little shade on those claims by doing some actual, transparent comparisons of GPT 3.5 Turbo and Gemini Pro, which is available in the wild now for you to play with. And it basically says that it was slightly inferior to GPT 3.5 Turbo in almost every task. And it did have some areas where it was pretty good, and particularly in translation of non-English languages, it was a little bit better than GPT 3.5 Turbo. But again, it's like, Google, why are you so behind OpenAI? Not so behind. I mean, it's a fraction of difference. So a little shade on Google. But now I'm going to talk about something that Google Research and DeepMind just did, which is anticipating the future. And it weaves in this idea that we've been talking about in the show about how models are getting smaller and smaller, portable to the point where they can be on your phone. And so what Google did was they created a method that can take a large language model and give it agent capabilities and an algorithm that will go out and do what amounts to fine-tuning training in the context of whatever the query is in real time by going out to the web and attaching external resources to it. So this LLM that they've built has agency. It can go out and do things. It can go out and teach itself. And through just 2 iterations of running this algorithm and allowing it to train on a type of question answering, it allowed 2 orders of magnitude smaller model to be trained to do what the GPT-4 level models can do, right? So you can imagine now in the world, there will be all these little AIs that not only can be on your phone and capture all the knowledge, effectively, distilling it down into something that's portable, but it can also self-train. So if it doesn't have the knowledge within that thing, it can go out and teach itself to be a profound expert in those areas that you're interested in right now. Like eventually this will be so fast that you'll never know the difference. It'll know everything because it can go out and learn about those things, which seems like what you would imagine an AI could do, but they've demonstrated that this week, which is pretty interesting.
And is that
really
because
awesome.
their Gemini Nano is running on the Pixel 8 now? Am I getting the numbers right? Was that related to that? Like, are those?
Well, it's conceptually related, but no. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can find this this reference here again. It's very interesting. What it says is that researchers developed a React-style LLM agent that reasons and can act on external knowledge to improve its performance in real time.
Nice. Cool.
Can I throw in
one
more?
They're not announcing a product yet. They're just
no. This is research. This is Google Research and DeepMind, the sort of the centers of intellectual excellence inside Google on AI.
I want to go to you, Beth, but this is a real quick one for Google, just since we're talking about Google. I did read a news story on them, and every major player is going to have something on this, but Google was one of the first starting to look forward into 2024. Even if you're not in the US, there's major elections going on. We have a presidential election in the United States. Primaries are already starting to get on their way. And obviously people have been talking about, AI, elections, disinformation, things that we've already been dealing with in past elections. How is that going to be handled? And Google actually just came out maybe as one of the first that said, look, we are going to limit, and I think it was a little vague right at the moment as to what they mean, but how SGE, search
generative experience.
Thank you. Generative experience and Bard as well are going to give back results about elections and things like that. Obviously, they're heavily concerned, as they should be, about disinformation. There's not a political statement on this. I think both sides, all sides, need to be concerned about this. So, and there's also been stories too about people in other countries who are using voice clones as part of there was somebody in, I think, Pakistan who was jailed and was using a voice clone as part of their campaign.
That's what you're setting up for me, because you're not
talking
about Google anymore.
All right.
Go for it. There's good I meant to do that, Beth. Go for it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. His name is Imran Khan. He is the former prime minister of Pakistan, and he is campaigning. He's imprisoned, and he is campaigning. It's not a deep fake. Like he wrote the speech that was given. His voice was cloned with 11 Labs, which is one of the major vocal clones. But it's the first piece that I have seen that kind of presages, Andy, is that the word? That talks about what is possible to do. In the US, we're often concerned with like a deep fake or the words that we see coming out of politicians' mouths are not actually words that they said. But this
I think
actually
the word I have to interrupt you to just say it finally came to me. I think you were meaning to say presages.
Yes, thank you. One of the words I've probably read and not heard out loud. But this actually opens up the possibility that you could have like a message that was tailored for this community and that community that is approved, right? I mean, we see all those on the TV. I'm so and so, and I approve this message. That they're actually, it's their voice, they're written for it. So it's like this is the slippery slope, and also maybe this slope can handle like 80 million people. So like we'll see what's happening. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
So a couple of points. So Brian, what you're talking about, Google and politics. Meta has also announced that anyone for political affiliation is making a post, they have to identify that it's a political post. And also, Beth, on a little bit of a different side of using approved AI fakes or cloning, or the approved use of AI, is the New York City Council member Susan Zhuang used AI to answer some reporter questions, like doing a survey and things like that. And she states that because of immigrants like her and other immigrants, they use AI to help them understand their community, and because English is a second language. So when responding to reporters or official inquiries and things like that, they like to use that to help better explain themselves, which I think is positive. Yes. But again, Beth, slippery slope. Do we identify where, how clear do we have to be? And, those kinds of those steps. So I wanted to,
it probably goes beyond this. Well, it does go beyond the scope of a AI news episode like this, but I think maybe this is a great discussion for just some bigger discussion for a later episode, which is just that, how do we redefine, intelligence? Because that's the weird part to me. Like, okay, you have somebody like this who's using AI to help them better speak to or communicate with maybe a pocket of people that maybe they would not have been able to do themselves. They don't speak the other language, whatever the case is. So now they're using AI to enhance their efforts to speak to this community or whatever the story was. And what does that now mean? Do we now value, are we valuing this politician less? Are we thinking to ourselves, oh, well, maybe they're less smart because they're having to rely on AI? Or are we looking at them and going, oh, well, that's actually kind of brilliant. They're using tools around them to supplement where they don't necessarily have expertise, maybe in another language. I don't speak another language, so I would have to definitely rely on these tools. So anyway, probably bigger discussion for another show, but interesting how we're sort of redefining what intelligence is. If somebody's found out, or maybe they're public about saying, I lean on AI to help me in these areas, do we devalue them in terms of how we associate what their intelligence is? Or do we actually go the other way and say, that's pretty brilliant, more people should be doing stuff like that? I don't know. So put a pause, put a pin on that one.
Right.
That's like a larger AI question, right? Like, are we better workers because we are minimizing the effort it takes and we can do more? Right? Does that make us less good workers? I think it makes us brilliant workers.
Is efficiency lazy, right? Is efficiency right? Yeah, maybe that's a good thing to think about.
I have one more. And then I'm done. In the this is sort of image, but also from a business perspective, outfit apparel kind of stuff. Alibaba came out with something called Outfit Anyone, where you can try on outfits, right? On your model. The models are pretty like similar, so those outfits don't fit me. But also there is a person on X, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get the name wrong, Thibaut Zamora, I believe, at Thibaut Z. And they've been doing something similar with connecting, where are we? Sorry. With using Stable Diffusion to switch outfits. The one that Alibaba was doing does actually put the exact outfit on, but it's their technology. What this person has done is do some stuff with Stable Diffusion on a couple different models and be able to like have a picture of the hoodie that you want someone to be wearing, and then your model, the character that you've created that you're making a movie from or something like that. And there's definitely puts a hoodie on. There's some changes that happen, but you can totally see where this is going. We're going to have a prediction show, but I predict in 2024, we're going to be at Stitch Fix is going to be able to send you something that says, this is what you'd look like in this outfit. Do you want it? So.
And our prediction show is coming up right like 2 days before the New Year's, like 12/29 or something like that. So later next week, we'll be having that prediction show. So yeah, that's a good one though. I think that's a good one on there. Jimmy, you said you have one. I have a quick fun one. Yeah. Andy, if you have any others, let's run through them.
So this kind of harkens back to a nostalgia childhood dream of mine. If you've ever saw the show Knight Rider. Of course. So TomTom, the GPS company, is collabing with Microsoft to make Gen AI integrated into their devices for your car. So you can have a conversation with your car, So, I mean, so
naturally I'm going to call it Kit, but okay, keep going.
Right, exactly. So what they're looking to do is it's basically an AI assistant. You can talk to it just naturally. It's like, oh, hey, I want to find this kind of stuff and whatnot. And you can do that to a certain level now with, Google, Apple, and those companies. But it's the natural language processing and having the natural conversation, which is what I find most interesting, because I think that would make long car rides more enjoyable. Beyond just Spotify, play this music or whatever. You could just have your conversation. It's like, all right, well, let me tell you about my day. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. So I want to take this turbo jump off of this ramp. So can we cross that river if we can do that? And then I want TomTom to basically just say, no, you might want to take this route instead. I'm like, all right, we'll do that.
I have two thoughts on that. One, didn't know TomTom still existed. That's news to me. Like I totally thought they would have been out of business.
They're out of Amsterdam, so that's their market. So they're all east side. Yeah.
I started you were talking about like the cool fun stuff. I immediately started thinking of like maybe car maintenance and stuff, and like you know, immediately in my head I started thinking like, hey Michael, like that back left tire has been a little low for a week now.
Yeah.
You're gonna get to that anytime soon? Do you think you're gonna? I'm limping back here. I'm ruining my back left tire. You don't seem to care. How about you pull over to a Wawa and put just a little air in my, like, to me, that's what I'm looking forward. I need the car to give me some sass. I need it to be like, hey, your check engine light's on. What's that about? Just the manufacturer thing. I'm fine. Like, I don't really need you to. I say give it another week. Give it another week and ask me about it.
Can you imagine if it's low on fuel and it's just like you get in, you turn it on, and it's just like, I'm starving.
Right.
Let's swing by the Shell station. Come on.
$1 million idea on this show. We are filled with them. This is another $1 million show. You know, a car that talks to you and gives you shit for not doing the things you're supposed to be doing to keep the car clean and happy and all these kind of things. And
so it's no longer the list.
Put that in there. Yeah.
Right. It's no longer the list of the accent you want the car to speak to you in or the language. Yeah. Now it's like, what's the attitude you want your car to have?
That's right. Moderate, highly sarcastic. Grew up in New York. My love language is sarcasm. I need that to be a button on there because that's the only way my family knows how to talk to each other is through sarcasm. So like, I just need that to be the preset because it's how I understand things. Yeah, that's how I understand things. I have a quick one, and then Andy, if you got any others, I know you always have some super cool ones. I just had a cool one. Cali Express, first, they say first in the world, fully AI driven fast food restaurant. It's out in Pasadena. It already opened. It does actually have humans in it. So not fully, even though that's what they're saying. But I think their point is the humans are now the people are there for the customer friendly face, which honestly, I don't care. Just as long as it made the burger. But also like it puts the lotion in the basket. No, it puts the burger in the bun in the container for it. And I guess they have to do that. But otherwise, it's a fly flipper. It's a burger press. It's a, you order on the screen. Funny enough, on this little local ABC clip, which was really, cringy as far as like they do the really, or you'll be saying, I'll be back. It was really cringy in that way. Anyway, local, you got to love local news things. But anyway, funny enough, on there, they're showing the guy do it, and the tip screen comes up, and he tips 10%. And the guy goes, "You're gonna tip the robots?" And he just did it like naturally. He hit 10%, and he's like, "You're tipping the robots?" But their point was, why I think this is interesting is like they were saying they wouldn't say how much everything costs, but the fly flipper was $4,000, and they said next year it's going to be $20 minimum wage to have a fly flipper in like a McDonald's or whatever. And so $4,000 is a considerable savings if it really does the job. So I think we're going to see more and more of this. I'm all for it, honestly. If I go to a fast food, if it makes the thing that I want to make, I honest to God don't care if there's a human in the building. I'm just looking for it to do the thing and give me it out the window. And I don't care if it comes out in a pod. I don't care. That's me. But anyway, really interesting. Cali Express is the name if you want to go look it up.
So this is actually that's a fantastic. I didn't hear about them before, so thank you. But this gives me a fantastic idea. So there already exists full-size vending machines that make you fresh baked pizzas.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Full-size vending machines. We've got auto driving cars. We've got AI. So how about I order my pizza, and as it drives to me, makes it fresh and delivers me the pizza fresh right at my door.
Love it.
Make it happen.
Another $1 million idea right here.
Man, we need to have a banner for another $1 million idea on this show.
That's a franchise. Honestly, buy yourself a pizza van. Pizza Van, go. Hey, I even came up with the title, Pizza
We're
Van.
making billionaires here on this show.
Wait, let me get you a
Like a
logo
billionaire.
right now.
All
But-
I want is 1%
Okay,
of 1%
just-
of the idea. You can see my name. Just sign me on there. It's fine. 1% of 1%. It's fine. It's good.
But let's just sit back for a second and just acknowledge that in that 3 minutes, we've probably eliminated 7 jobs.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That
Yeah, but
Lord-
it's going to add jobs.
Yeah.
There's be, but it's just going to. Yes, you're right.
Is it adding a job for the person who's driving the pizza van? Right? Is it adding a
Well,
job?
you
for
don't
the-
need-
Hopefully
You don't
what it's
even
gonna
need to
do is
drive
free
the
them up
pizza
to do
van.
other
You
jobs.
can have it auto
Right.
driving.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. There was
Yeah.
someone who didn't have to, who needed to be able to drive, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Andy,
No,
take
I mean,
us
Good
somewhere else.
point.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, well then it's only worth $750,000. That
Yeah.
particular idea.
All right.
No, it's
All
definitely
right.
$1 million
Strike it.
idea.
Strike the
One-
idea.
one
We're
small
only
little
in this for $1 million ideas. Strike it. Go,
Okay.
Andy. Go. Take us home on this one.
We're talking about AI assistants, conversational AI assistants, the large language models. But there's a whole other genre of AI, which is image oriented, and text to image is a big deal. There's a company out there called Playground, which launched Playground V2, which compared to Stable Diffusion XL, one of the, like leaders in that space, Playground V2 is preferred by the users that they tested it with 2.5 times more than Stable Diffusion XL. So another player entering in, with a really profound ability to allow you to just write what you want to see and have it generate it right now.
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely.
Nice.
Listen, well, I'll leave that for the prediction show, but that's definitely coming. The prediction for 2024 for sure. And also, when you guys were talking about, I think Andy, you were talking about Google. In my mind, I'm like, why doesn't Google just go buy Mistral at this point? And like, what is it going to cost them? And then like we already see where that's going. It's a Paris-based company. They were in the news because they just got another round of funding. They're now valued at some crazy $1 billion, $2 billion, $4 billion valuation already, which I always think those things are crazy. But anyway, like why just come on, Google.
It's because
we need Carly for that.
they see themselves, right? It would be like, why doesn't McDonald's just go out and buy the better burger recipe? No, McDonald's is known for its burgers. Google did it's interesting.
As a
All right,
side
we'll wrap
note,
go for it. Yeah,
a lot of because you were talking about Mistral coming out of France. France is a huge hotbed of AI development. There's with recent changes and starting up the 2 main independent agencies for AI research, one in like the UK and one in the US. So there's a lot of drive behind that. And this is also where a lot of funding is coming from. But there's lots and lots of French companies that are building AI and those are really, really taking off. So if for the business side of things, if you really want to keep an eye on what's coming out, take a look at France.
Yeah, and that's a show idea too. Like in a future show, we can discuss all of the developments in France, but we'll do it in French in real-time translation. So
yeah.
And the
We can
audience,
totally
if you want to know what we're talking about and you don't speak French, you just have to figure out what tool you can use to do real-time translation of our French that's been translated from our English.
I did that
And
one
I
in Hey Jen, and they said that, and somebody said it was distinctively French Canadian, and it was making somebody who spoke French laugh because they're like, "Oh, it's real French, but it's French Canadian, not Parisian French." And they're like, "It's hysterical," and I'm like, "I'm glad it's making you laugh." I mean, I don't know the difference or whatever. Like, no, that's it is French, but it's a different French. And I was like, "That's fair," So sorry, Beth, I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, then let's wrap it up.
And I'm frozen. I think actually it's Meta who just came out with a research about their live translation. So it's one of the big ones. It's not available yet, but it is like in time. So
well, I'll be in Paris for part of the Olympics next year, so maybe it'll be ready by then. Maybe we'll do it. I'll do a live show and I'll tell you all about
it. That's what I'm talking about
in Paris. I love that idea, by the way, Andy. What different countries are doing as part of AI? That would be super cool. And also, we should definitely have a reoccurring, like once a month, our $1 million ideas, because I think we've already clearly demonstrated that we're going to make billionaires off this show. And that's why people should listen, frankly, is because we have all the good ideas and we're giving it away free. Free. You guys are so lucky. All right, that's it. We're talking about colleges. I cannot wait. AI and colleges. I just saw an article about that. That's going to be really interesting for tomorrow. Friday is number 100 on the episodes. So we're going to be talking about that. And we're going to go find the other 3 and make them show up on Friday. So hopefully we have all 7 here. We can all celebrate together. So that's it. We'll be back. We're back all next week as well. So keep coming back, guys. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Greg, for hanging out in the comments. Bye.
Aloha.